Everyone knows that Dragon Ball Super has an anime and a manga, but what most fans don't know is that Toyotaro also created a collection of bonus chapters and illustrations that never made it into the anime in any way. Hidden between story arcs and chapters are official stories that answer questions, expand the world, and reveal scenes with characters we love. From how King Kai got his planet back, to Future Piccolo's fate, and the truth behind Android 17's training. Let's cover every Dragon Ball Super bonus chapter and the many illustrations that add to the story. Many of these chapters were released in pamphlets or special programs, and later included in the volume release. So let's begin with the first one. For years, fans wondered how King Kai got his planet back after Cell blew it up, and Toyotaro finally gave us the answer, and made Goku look like an even worse friend. Sometime before Battle of Gods, we find King Kai and Murray, the Grand Elder of Namek, at the tail end of Snake Way. King Kai thanks Murray for his help, as they summon Porunga, but the North Kaio starts making a few alterations. A bigger planet, with a racing circuit, a nicer house, and 10 times lower gravity so he can live in comfort. But before he can finish the request, Goku appears from behind and yells at him that no way. That planet's not gonna be any good. King Kai didn't even hear Goku coming. But the Saiyan heard whispers that King Kai would be getting his world back, so he thought he'd come and watch. And thank God he did, because that new planet would have ruined his training. King Kai tells Goku how annoying him coming back and forth between Otherworld and Earth is, but Goku just ignores him and wishes for the exact same world as before. Porunga instantly grants the wish, and the little planet pops into existence. King Kai cries for what could have been, while Goku just leaves back to farming, promising to come back. But don't worry, my dear friend, you still have 2 more wishes. Except Porunga leaves before he grants any others, for some reason. So maybe he just didn't want to deal with the fallout, as Murray awkwardly packs away the Dragon Balls and leaves King Kai to cry on his knees. What a nice friend you are, Goku. First you kill the guy, make him homeless, and then you steal his chance to get a nicer place. But at least we got an explanation. Fun fact, GT also randomly restores the planet in a random episode without any explanation. It's a blink and you miss it moment. But that wasn't the only hidden story Toyotaro snuck into the manga volumes. But first, today's video is sponsored by JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Spirit. If you're a JoJo fan, one of the most fun things to think about is all the what-if scenarios the series gave us. What if Jonathan fought alongside Jotaro? What if Giorno teamed up with Josuke? That's exactly what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Spirit lets you do. It's the first globally released JoJo mobile RPG, bringing together iconic characters from parts 1 through 6 so you can build your own dream teams, or recreating iconic teams like the Stardust Crusaders. There's a ton of different team compositions to try. The game also has a lot of what makes JoJo, well, JoJo, with the iconic visual style of the anime, cinematic stand battles, signature poses, and plenty of memorable moments from the series. Level up characters, upgrade skills, and customize your lineup to be whatever you want. To celebrate the worldwide launch on August 13th, there are a bunch of special events happening, including an SSR Jotaro Kujo summoning event, with a special Stardust Crusaders story, and other launch bonuses for new players. You can download JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Spirit using the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thanks again to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Spirit for sponsoring this video. And with that, let's return to a different anime and uncover more of Dragon Ball Super's hidden stories. The next chapter takes us to the future timeline. This one's great, since getting a look at Gohan in the future timeline is pretty rare outside of the special. This bonus chapter answers 2 mysteries by showing us things we've only ever heard about. When did the Pilaf gang become so young, and when did Future Piccolo die? We open with Androids 17 and 18 battling the Z-Fighters, who've already been through a terrifying fight. We also get a reminder that future Goku is dead due to the heart virus.
Hi, I'm dead right now.
Gohan was also with the warriors defending the planet, but managed to escape with a plan. At this rate, Piccolo will die, so they need to use the Dragon Balls before it's too late. Bulma pulls up on the ship alongside Little Trunks, with the Dragon Radar already pointing to the location of the Dragon Balls.
Come with me if you want to live.
To their surprise, they're already being collected, and on the way there, the sky turns dark. Someone has already summoned Shenron, none other than Pilaf and his crew, who are old, and thus use their designs from Dragon Ball GT. Nice attention to detail, Toyotaro. Pilaf wishes to become way younger, but both Mai and Shu wonder if this is the right idea, since they've heard that monsters are destroying South City, but it's too late. Gohan and Bulma arrive just as the wish is made, and the gang is turned into babies. This is why future Mai seems to be around the same age as Trunks, and the implication here is that this is also how and around the same time when the present timeline Pilaf gang would have made themselves young as well. Sadly, before Shenron can even say goodbye, he disappears. The Dragon Balls are turned to stone, and they drop down. Piccolo has been killed. Gohan cries out, the Pilaf gang runs away, and Mai locks eyes with baby Trunks. This being their first meeting. Though, since she was geriatric 2 minutes ago, it's a bit icky. But speaking of Trunks and Gohan, the next one is also focused on them. In the Super anime, we got to see a whole episode about Trunks reuniting with Gohan, but the manga didn't get nearly as much focus. So, to compensate for this, Toyotaro released a bonus story. A few days after the defeat of Zamasu, and losing the future timeline, Trunks and Mai settle at Capsule Corp, where they now have to live. Bulma tells them to pick whichever room they want, ensuring Mai that she's welcome to stay, and that since she's only ever had Trunks, then it'll be like having a daughter. Slight foreshadowing there. That's when Gohan enters and is surprised to see Trunks, because in the manga continuity, nobody told Gohan that he was there, which is kinda sad of them. Trunks is confused as to why Gohan is at Capsule Corp, but he explains that he's been training in Vegeta's gravity chamber. Since nobody really calls him when it's time to fight anymore, he's getting a bit rusty. Trunks is proud to see Gohan all grown up, reminding him of his own future Gohan, as if he's come back to life. And, unaware of everything that just went on, Gohan comments on how peaceful things have been so he doesn't need to train, and present Trunks stares at him in disbelief, while he just keeps going, saying that Trunks' future must also be so peaceful with him around, and that he'd like to visit. Trunks is taken aback and looks down in pain, knowing he has lost everything. But he lies to Gohan, saying that the truth is that they're heading back in a couple days. Gohan is sad that he can't stick around, but Trunks promises to take him to the future sometime, to see just how peaceful it is. Gohan is looking forward to it, and says he can't wait to meet his version of Bulma, who is dead. The present Bulma gets on Gohan's case for being just as insensitive as Goku, while Trunks turns to Mai and tells her that maybe they shouldn't stay there. They should just go back to the future before it was destroyed. And that's how in the manga, Trunks decided to leave the past and return to a peaceful future. We move on from the Goku Black arc to the Tournament of Power. You may remember how, in the anime, 17 left Goten, Trunks and Marin and Monster Island to take care of a few things while they go and fight. We don't see much of what they do outside of a shot of them in the last episode, but the manga has a bit more focus in this bonus chapter. Ever wonder how Android 17 got so strong as to fight Super Saiyan Blue? This bonus chapter doesn't answer everything, but it gives at least a few hints at the puzzle. We see as 18 and Krillin drop off Goten, Trunks and Marin, which Krillin isn't exactly comfortable with, but the parents leave with 17. Trunks wants to hunt down some poachers, and Goten is trying to call for them. Sets of eyes follow them around. Marin is the first one to point them out, as a Cell Jr. bursts from the shadows and punches Trunks across the face. 7 Cell Juniors in total show up, creeping out the kids. So we cut to 17, who remembers that he totally forgot to tell them about the pseudo Cell Juniors. Krillin remembers what the Cell Juniors are, but 18 doesn't. So 17 reveals that she should remember, since they could see everything from within Cell, and that he found creatures on Monster Island that looked exactly like them. Trunks and Goten continue to fight them as Super Saiyans, but as soon as they see the Ranger armband, they huddle together, apologize, and leave. The kids are left confused, but at the ship, 17 explains that he tamed the Cell Juniors and trained them not to attack Rangers, as Krillin realizes that this is how 17 got so strong, though that's quite a big jump. The kids continue on their adventure, questioning if those things were even real monsters from the island. which they aren't. The narration explains that, just like the real Cell could, maybe his children could also regenerate from a cluster of cells, and if so, then these Cell Juniors are the originals after all. It's funny because maybe the anime also wanted to show a bit more of the kids' adventures, with 2 unused songs that seem to point to that. One's even called The Boy's Adventure. And so, with the Tournament of Power over, Toyotaro moved on to the manga original arcs, with the first one being a bit of a backstory to a key character in the Moro arc. Cranberry is a simple Frieza Force soldier with a generic design, but he plays an interesting role. As the battles against Vegeta ended, the Frieza Force prepared for a special mission on planet Frieza 79. Zarbon and Dodoria gathered a small group of soldiers for a secret plan, collecting the Dragon Balls on planet Namek, alongside Lord Frieza. Cranberry is surprised to hear that they really exist and aren't just a legend, but Zarbon reprimands him for speaking out of turn. Soldiers who do not follow orders will be killed. He apologizes, and they make their way to Namek. This is when we see the scene of the original manga play out, where a group of Namekians defend Muri's village against the attack, and Cranberry is sent flying into Zarbon, who just kicks him into the water, and he dies. This all really did happen. You can look at it in the original manga, but it ended up creating a loophole. When Mr. Popo wished for everyone killed by Frieza and his men to be revived, Cranberry returned too. With nowhere else to go, Cranberry blasted off away from Namek, using Vegeta's space spot, and became a petty thief, until he was caught by Jacko the Galactic Patrolman and sent to prison, where he would eventually meet Moro. I love this one. It's so interesting to see a bit of the story from a random soldier's perspective, and actually making him kind of important is really charming. The next one also takes place in the Moro arc, but it's more of an excuse to recap. So let's take a look. The setting is the Galactic Patrol HQ. Goku is telling Miraz and Moro all about his latest adventure, his battle against Broly, a Saiyan who was even stronger than him and Vegeta, going over how Frieza came to Earth looking for the Dragon Balls, and how Broly kept getting stronger and stronger until transforming into a Super Saiyan. That's when Goku and Vegeta had to set aside their differences and fuse into Gogeta, who defeated Broly, as Shilai teleported him away. Jacko is terrified upon hearing this. Where did he go? What if he comes back? Goku explains that he wasn't really that bad of a guy, and that he just went home back to planet Vampa. Miraz is surprised. How could he have ended up in such a hostile environment to call home? Vegeta doesn't remember exactly why he's there. Goku wonders if maybe he just likes living in such a nasty place. What a weirdo. But no, it had something to do with King Vegeta, the prince remembers, as the manga ends with a vignette of the old generation of Saiyans and King Cold. Goku nor Vegeta knew anything about the grand tale woven by their parents' generation. And that's the end of that one. The Super manga didn't properly adapt Broly into an arc, so this was a little bit more of a thorough look at it in the manga, though during Superhero, Toyotaro would revisit the film in some flashbacks during Broly's training. It's nothing crazy, but it was really cool to see Broly and Gogeta in the manga drawn by him. Now, a character that's always been out there causing trouble, whether we see him or not, is Frieza. So, what's he up to when the arc isn't about him? In the midst of the Moro arc, we cut away to Frieza's ship in space. The 2 scouts we saw in the Broly movie come running in, apologizing for returning from their mission scouting the next planet early. But escaped convicts from the galactic prison are ravaging it. Frieza thinks about it, saying that prisoners kept there are the nastiest of them all, so he chooses to go to a different planet instead, and avoid meaningless conflict. After all, nothing good can come from mixing in with criminals. That's when Kikono, Frieza's top scientist, speaks up. Aren't we criminals? He's lucky that Frieza didn't kill him right then and there, as he stares daggers through him. Berry Blue speaks up, explaining that the Frieza Force is not a criminal organization. They simply occupy planets and exterminate their inhabitants, to sell those planets for profit to other races who have lost their homes. They are running a business. Frieza agrees, and everything becomes clear to Kikono as they set sail to their next world. This one's cool because it lets us hear Frieza explain how he sees the Frieza Force, a proper mission statement for it. Because, although evil, it is kinda true. He is a businessman first and foremost. There was one final bonus chapter covering the origin of the Great Saiyaman X1 and X2. However, unlike the others we've talked about, this story was much longer, and later incorporated directly into the manga as Chapter 104, making it part of the main storyline rather than a bonus. Although I really do do love the Great Saiyaman X stuff. If you'd like me to dedicate a video covering that entire storyline and all the stuff Toyotaro added there, let me know in the comments. For now, let's move on to the smaller scenes hidden between chapters. Because Toyotaro didn't stop with the bonus chapters. Every volume also includes little illustrations that filled in skipped scenes, expanded jokes, or showed events that we never got to see. If you've only read the manga online, then you've never seen these. So let's go volume by volume. I won't be going over every single bonus illustration because some of them are just drawings of a character. I'll be focusing on the ones that have some kind of narrative or little story to them, starting with Volume 1 and Battle of Gods. In the first episode of Dragon Ball Super, we see Mr. Satan give money to Goku for the defeat of Buu, but we don't see him go to Vegeta. This first bonus scene shows just that, in the middle of a big buffet, but Vegeta refuses and says that they have more than enough. In the next one, we see Vegeta practicing the moves he'll use to distract Beerus in Battle of Gods, the bingo dance aerobic exercise routine. But despite all that practice, this scene is completely skipped over in the manga, and the anime for that matter. It only shows up in the movie, so we see Vegeta sulking, upset that he didn't get to show off. The first volume has quite a few of these "something was skipped" illustrations, like this next one, where we see Frieza, Shizame, and Sorbet having been just sent to hell. The English translation for this is, "I was flown down here," but it kinda misses the joke. He's basically saying, "I was skipped over," because the entirety of Resurrection F was skipped to get to the Universe 6 arc instead, particularly because right before the Super manga began, Toyotaro drew half of the movie for a special tie-in manga anyways. The next one takes place in the Universe 6 arc, at the start around when Monaka joins the team, because for some reason, Toyotaro completely skipped the scene where Beerus says that Goku is the second strongest man he's ever fought. Beerus does reference it in the manga, but he only says it in the anime. So in this scene, Goku sorta, kinda remembers it happening, and Beerus leaving immediately after. It's a funny way to retcon it back in. Similarly, the scene of Goku punching Monaka doesn't happen in the normal manga. He just shakes his hand. So this bonus scene shows exactly that. Then, once we get into the tournament itself, we see Mageta's reaction to getting a 50% on the written exam. Poor guy, he's just a sensitive soul. Finally, one of the coolest ones is that we get a special look at Krillin's imagination as he thanks Kami that Frost didn't transform into that state, thinking of one similar to Frieza's second form, since he has such bad memories with it during the Frieza arc. Side note, the scene where Krillin gets impaled by Frieza is one of my favorites in the franchise. It's just so insane. For the last thing in this volume, there was a special little joke that was released when Champa was first shown. We have Champa getting deflated, and everyone realizing that it's just a blown-up Beerus, which is kinda funny. With that, the tournament continues onto Volume 2, but we'll begin to see fewer per volume, since the chapters become longer and longer. We're still in the Universe 6 arc, so the first one to fill in a gap is a scene we never saw, where Frost coats his wrist stinger with poison in preparation to cheat at the tournament. Then, when Mageta gets insulted half to death by Vegeta, Botamo tries to cheer his friend up by patting his back and telling him that if he fixes his attitude, then he'll be the strongest of them all. And so, their friendship was established and ready for Botamageta in the Tournament of Power. They're low-key kinda like me and my editor. Then, as Goku enters the ring to fight Hit, he asks Vegeta for some advice. But Vegeta is just salty and he doesn't have anything to say. Just do what you need to do. Of course, one of my favorite running jokes in Super gets a bonus illustration, as Goku thanks the King of the Universe for telling him about the time skip, and shakes what is not the King's hand. The final one for Volume 2 takes us into the Goku Black arc, showing Future Bulma tinkering with some technology, telling Trunks that they only have enough for a one-way trip on the time machine, or that they could just all leave together and live in peace. This is one of the only real appearances of Future Bulma in the Super manga, because we don't actually see her death. Trunks just tells us it happened, unlike the anime where she gets a heart-wrenching send-off. With that, we continue onto Volume 3. The first illustration shows the old Kai as a dead soul, angry at Trunks and everyone else for getting him killed when the Sea Sword was destroyed in the battles against future Dabura. Then we have Beerus playing Mario Kart, practicing so he can beat Trunks, since the Super manga had a fun chapter where the Z Fighters played Mario Kart and Kid Trunks beat everyone. And finally, for this volume, we have one of the funniest, an unseen moment where Zamazu, believing that Monaka really was the strongest mortal in Universe 7, asked Super Shenron to switch bodies with him instead of Goku. So I guess he had to gather the Dragon Balls yet again to correct the wish. Volume 4 also has one of my favorites, as this illustration shows a glimpse at Zamazu's backstory, since he was a King Kai, the North Kaio of Universe 10 to be exact. The scene shows Gowazu approaching him about training to become the next Kaioshin of the universe. Seeing him younger in the Kaio garb is awesome, and I love the look of his house and the little pet pig. This young, bright-eyed Zamazu was ready to dedicate himself to the peace of the universe, so it's pretty sad to see how he ended up. The next one features Master Roshi, sitting with the Mafuba seal, which he accidentally confused with a coupon and rendered the Mafuba Goku practiced completely useless. Just for Roshi to realize that he could have just written the seal directly on the jar, like Kami did, and all of this would have been avoided. The Z fighters sure are frustrating sometimes. And then, during the battles between Vegito and Zamazu, Gowazu questions Shin as to why he knew so little about the Potara, and the embarrassed Shin replies that the Grand Kaioshin never explained any of that to him, and then he died, with our first look back at the Kai inside of Buu in a long time. And honestly, yeah, why didn't anyone say anything to Shin? He had a whole squad of Kais with him. Or maybe, in Universe 7, that piece of history was lost, sometime after the old Kai got sealed in the Sea Sword. He just couldn't pass it down. Also, this one isn't a bonus illustration, but I wanted to point out how this volume had a preview for the Tournament of Power that showed all the gods kneeling before Zeno. But here, they have ceremonial robes and headgear, which was removed in the final version. Such a shame because it looks really sick. Starting Volume 5, we find Pilaf making his own time machine with a plan to save his future self, thus beginning the Future Pilaf arc. This is a bit of a play on a running joke, where Pilaf keeps asking Future Mai what happened to him in the future, and she just looks at him sadly and ignores the question. So maybe he died saving her? Can't wait for the Future Pilaf arc though. The next one brings back one of the many merged Zamazu copies who didn't get the memo that Monaka was not the strongest in the universe. So he just rolled with it, to the point of fusing, I guess. So one of the real Zamazu tells him that he's got the wrong face on. Very funny. I love Zamanaka. And so the Goku Black arc comes to an end. And we also have Vegeta being a good husband as we enter the Tournament of Power. Bulma's pregnant, so he's doing house chores instead, folding clothes and treating it like training. Body moves faster than mind, reacting by its own will. I love it when characters do the whole Karate Kid thing of training while doing daily tasks. Wax on, wax off. Volume 6 truly kicks off the TOP with the Zeno exhibition match between the Gods of Destruction and later Toppo and Goku. This bonus illustration shows us that, during all of this, Shin discussed with Whis about the angels. All of them are brothers and sisters, and the oldest of them all is Kuzu from Universe 10, which was apparently a surprise to Gowazu as well. Sometime after, all the universes go out to gather members for their team, and though Jiren refuses at first, not wanting to be responsible for the demise of their universe, he accepts once Belmont told him about the Dragon Balls. So this bonus art shows the God of Destruction sighing in relief, holding his chest. Imagine if he had refused, they would have all been doomed. The last one said before the Tournament of Power shows Yamcha in his baseball uniform, saying that he's gotta train every now and then, so he doesn't get rusty, just in case, and Puar cheering him on. A little poke at how he wasn't invited to the tournament. And the manga doesn't have a chapter with everyone playing baseball, so it's great that Toyotaro managed to include it somehow anyways. Poor Yamcha though, but at least he gets some cool scenes later on. Volume 7 doesn't really have anything super interesting to talk about, just a showcase of Universe 7, 6, and 9. Though the cover this time has 3 variations, unlike the normal 2 Toyotaro does, one for each piece of the God Trio. Similarly, Volume 8 showcases Universe 2, 3, 4, and 10, but there is a fun bonus illustration of Marin meeting Belmont and giving him a balloon, a reference to the horror book and film It. As the Tournament of Power comes to an end, we get to Volume 9, with an overview of Universe 11. And finally, the real bonus illustrations return. And it's like looking back at Volume 1, because the Broly movie was skipped in the manga outside of a couple panels and the chapters that come later on. We get Gogeta defeating Broly, and telling him that, sorry, there's no room in this book for our epic battle, teleporting out. We then get our first Moro illustration, with a glimpse at how Goku and the others transported and arrested the Macareni gang, since in the story we just skip ahead to their prison cell. And surprisingly, as part of the back of the book, we get a shot of 17 helping Frieza up, since the two of them were hiding in the rubble through the end of the Tournament of Power. The Moro arc continues in Volume 10, and Toyotaro slowly starts to move into just drawing characters rather than little scenes, like this one of Muri and Eska, the Grand Elder and his successor, so I'm not gonna cover too many of those. We also see the moment at the Galactic Patrol HQ, as Boo wakes up from his sleep after being kidnapped by Miras, waking up to eat everything in sight. Of course, since he needs energy to help in the battles, the Galactic Patrol keeps bringing him food. We then get a moment that happens during the Moro fight, where Miras shut down Cranberry's ship, so this scene shows him getting the Dragon Balls in a bag and escaping away from the battle site. Volume 11 continues the start of Moro. This next bonus scene is a nice callback to the first few chapters of Dragon Ball, as Miras flies by the moon with his spacesuit on, and we see that the Rabbit Gang, which Goku took up there during the original series, are still hard at work making mochi. We then see Iriko, the Galactic Patrolman, asking, "Where's Yardrat again?" And Vegeta tells him that he'll just tell him later, as the chapter just ended with Vegeta telling Iriko that they're going there instead of the base. The final one for this volume shows Jacko taking the annual physical fitness evaluation. It's part of a callback joke to the previous chapter, where Jacko is very proud of the patrol's fitness test, bragging that he's won the award for best upward-facing dog pose 3 years in a row, as if it's the same as Goku testing out Super Saiyan 3 against Miras. Volume 12 is mostly focused on the galactic prisoners, showing them all in the form of a police lineup, everyone from 7-3 to Sagambo and Yuzun. But the best part of this volume is a fun bit with Jacko at a movie theater, because we also see cameos of Monaka, Magetta, and more importantly, Onio and his wife, a Saiyan survivor that appears in Akira Toriyama's Neko Majin Z manga, a quasi-sequel and parody to Dragon Ball, all about Goku's second student. I have a video all about it if you want to learn more. Volume 13 continues the invasion of Earth, with more police lineups for Sagambo's Galactic Bandit Brigade, including the trio of girls that I always thought looked pretty sick. Only this time, we also get a little scene showing the Galactic Patrolman shooting these images with more criminals. Also, a sweet scene of Dende hanging out with Eska as they water flowers. Both are successors to the guardians of their respective worlds, Earth and Namek. Volume 14 takes us to the battle against Moro on Earth, with the first illustration being Vegeta struggling to get up after Moro knocked him down to the ground. Then, Krillin watches the fight from outside the barrier created by Moro to keep everyone from escaping, and sees someone arrive. In reality, it's Miras who just opened a hole through the barrier to allow himself and Dende in. Next up, we get to see Dende healing Vegeta following the scene where he healed Goku and he rushed away. A lot of this arc has to do with Vegeta and Namek, so the focus on the shot is an obvious callback to the Namek arc, where Vegeta tried to force Dende to heal him, so he would get stronger after recovering, only for Dende to refuse, because of all of the Namekians he's killed. He healed him eventually after Piccolo insisted, but showing Dende doing so voluntarily really shows how much things have changed since the Frieza saga. We then have one of Goku's ripped top, with the Galactic Patrol symbol falling on the ground after he teared it off, fighting as an Earthling, and not a Galactic Patrolman. This last one I want to mention also isn't a proper scene, but it's a great connection to the cover, where everyone is shown as a Galactic Patrolman. And now we even get to see Mr. Satan, but he's sleeping on the job. I'd love to just talk about the super covers and their alternates sometime. They're so good. Volume 15 marks the end of the Moro arc, with our first bonus illustration showing Jacko freaking out and asking Whis if Moro's unstable body would take out the Earth along with the rest of the galaxy. And then, after the battle is all said and done, Goku shoots up a thumbs up to his friends, and they all come running to him to celebrate. It's cool because a lot of these bonus illustrations are direct follow-ups to the previous page. A little extra that you miss if you've only read the chapters individually and not the volumes. We continue on to the Granola arc in volume 16. Granola has just snuck into the Sugarian research lab and stole the second Dragon Ball. So the illustration shows the Sugarian police looking for the thief. Then for the next one, we see the dancers and flute player that were performing for Alec, leaving a little terrified after Granola arrived to threaten the Heaters. We also get to see Maki dealing with Lord Zuno. In chapter 71, we saw the Heaters approach him regarding Frieza and the Saiyans, so she had to kiss him for answers. We cut away before we see anything else, but this bonus scene shows that she ended up having to kiss him 3 times, and the attendant tried to encourage one more kiss by offering 10 more questions. But Maki's had way more than enough of all of this. I really like her, I hope we get to see her again. We continue on to volume 17, where Goku and Vegeta have arrived to planet Cereal, tricked by Oil and Maki into taking care of Granola for them. So the first bonus illustration is Gas and Alec reuniting with their sister to continue the plan, since we don't see them arrive. We follow that up by Maki showing her brothers the stolen Dragon Radar, just before they set off to collect the Cerealian Dragon Balls in record time, since there's only 2 of them and they don't have a resting period. Then the battle between Granola and Ego Vegeta reaches a boiling point when they clash blast, causing an explosion that sends Oil flying far away. So we see the result of that. And he's okay. Volume 18 begins to show us more about Granola's backstory and his past with Bardock. So the bonus illustrations are just that. The first one is fun, since it shows Leek and Tara, 2 of Bardock's squad mates you may remember from the Broly movie, wondering where Bardock is, and Leek pointing out that he stayed behind. Obviously, we know that he was helping Granola and Muesli escape. We then see as Alec first recruits Granola as a bounty hunter, welcoming him to his castle and watching him progress slowly, while secretly being the one that killed his mother. This pays off with Granola delivering a large monster bounty, while Gas stares him down, beginning their rivalry, which is appropriate, since this illustration follows the chapter where Gas and Granola battle. Volume 19 shows the Squid family Goku teleported to as he made his way back to planet Cereal, terrified after seeing Goku appear and disappear. Likewise, we also get the shopkeeper from the planet Goku teleported to while locking onto Jakko, the same planet and character where Jakko arrested Cranberry. The first proper bonus scene of the volume shows Bardock's Saiyan pod blasting off into space after the battle against Gas, while Monaito is left alone with Granola and the Saiyan Scouter. Before the rematch against Gas, Monaito uses the Clothes Beam on Goku and Vegeta and gives them Saiyan armor. Goku asks him to just give him regular clothes back, but while in the manga itself we just skip ahead. This extra scene shows that Monaito couldn't remember exactly what they look like, so he gave Goku a long sleeve gi on accident. Vegeta just yells at him to rip them off. The back cover for this one also has a great shot of the Scouter reflecting Gas as the fight is about to finish. Volume 20 marks the end of the Granola arc. In chapter 85, we see as Goku punching Gas causes an explosion of power that sends the Heater ship crashing down. The Heaters are fine, they can fly, but the thing is, they had workers in that spaceship. So this piece shows the survivors escaping the vessel. Then Alec continues to force Gas to use more and more power, which causes him to age rapidly due to the nature of the wish, becoming an old man by the end. This scene shows his hand smoking, defeated. And finally, with the Granola arc coming to an end, and Goku and Vegeta flying back to Beerus' planet, Bulma calls Goku on a device to contact Whis, yelling at them for not coming home while Chi-Chi eats everything. She explained at the start of the arc that Goku hadn't been home in months and that they're running out of money, so eating at Bulma's was probably quite a treat for her. So we enter the superhero prequel arc, where we see a Capsule Corp helper robot. This also isn't a scene, but it's kind of notable, since like every helper robot we see has been hacked by Dr. Hedo and then destroyed by Trunks. So this seems to be one of the fixed ones that Pilaf and the others were working on by the end. Continuing with the very fun Great Saiyaman X mini arc, the bonus illustrations for volume 21 all focus on showcasing the new characters, starting with Goten, Mai, and Trunks' classmates, all named after school supplies: Fila, Chalk, Scale, Rula, and Compass. Then we move on to the alpha androids created by Dr. Hedo from stolen bodies and used to run businesses to fund his research. We actually get to see them in the superhero movie very briefly. These are Alpha 1 through 12. And finally, we get the newest android by Dr. Hedo, Beta 1. who goes undercover as a student to spy on Goten and Trunks. Volume 22 covers the superhero movie adaptation, though the bonuses here aren't super interesting. It's just Beerus and the others eating ice cream while watching Goku and Vegeta fight, Sheila asking for tea from Whis, and Beerus getting bored by the end of it. But we do get to see Broly watching the fight between the two on the back cover. Similarly, Volume 23 has really cool shots of Goku and Vegeta fighting over Beerus' planet. We don't see too much of it during the story itself, so as a bonus, it's kind of nice, ending it with them tired on the ground. I wonder if maybe because this was an adaptation of the film, Toyotaro didn't have much room for additional scenes outside of all the changes he already made to the story itself. And thus, we get to Volume 24. The final one of Dragon Ball Super, as of now, at least. The first bonus scene happens when Goku teleports to Gohan's house. After sensing Beast Gohan, we see Videl peacefully cooking and listening to music, while completely unaware of what's going on outside. It's nice to see her, since she didn't show up much. Then, while Goku and Gohan battle all out at Beerus' planet, we see that the Oracle Fish was blown away and fell from his jar. How is he supposed to nap like this? And finally, we see the most touching of these bonus scenes. The Dragon Ball Super manga closed off the epilogue of the superhero adaptation with a cute scene of Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo picking up Pan from school. This was a scene corrected by Toriyama himself to have Piccolo turn back and wave at Pan's teacher, almost as if he's waving goodbye to us, the audience. So the final one here is the shot right after. Pan's teacher, Janet, waving goodbye to the gang. With Akira Toriyama gone, and the Dragon Ball Super manga on indefinite hiatus, this ending feels more special than ever. I'm sure the manga will return one day, even if it is different from what we know it as now. But as an ending for this era of Dragon Ball, I think it's absolutely beautiful. Looking through all the 24 volumes of the Dragon Ball Super manga has kinda changed how I see it. I always thought these little extras tucked away in the back of the books and in between chapters were just that, random little extras. But putting them all together like this, it's almost like seeing deleted scenes from the special features on a DVD. It's really easy to just flip through them and completely miss them on a first read. But whenever Toyotaro had a joke or an answer to a question that he had to skip over in the original run, this is where they ended up. You can understand Dragon Ball Super perfectly without them. But if you love this world and these characters, they're full of little rewards that make the journey just a bit sweeter. But honestly, I could have gone beyond. Toyotaro has plenty more of special scenes not in the manga at all. Like this one here, one of my favorites, of Gohan during Superhero going to see Icarus, who's now giant. Those are part of monthly illustrations Toyotaro does. So if you want me to make a video just about those, let me know in the comments. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, we're super close to 500k. And if you like Dragon Ball deep dives like this, then check out my video all about the Dragon Ball Technique Classification System.